Welcome, Internet, to the Megavisions Sideshow, the companion to the companion podcast of Megavisions Magazine, where we stray away from the gaming news and what we've been playing to talk about just one movie, TV show, genre, game, what have you. Joining me today is the tic-tac-toe champion, Corey, a.k.a. Tornado Jones.
Would you like to play a game?
Getting it right there. And I'm a remote-controlled pterodactyl. I'm Scotty Moe. So,
I forgot about that part.
We'll talk about that too, don't you worry. But today's topic is the movie War Games, released in 1983. A young computer whiz kid accidentally connects into a top-secret supercomputer which has complete control over the U.S. nuclear arsenal. It challenges him to a game between America and Russia, and he innocently starts the countdown to World War III. Can he convince the computer he wanted to play a game and not the real thing? This movie is starring Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy, which, interestingly enough, we'll go through, this is the intro we always do, everybody. It's not going to be just me talking. We'll go through the stars, the box office numbers, and then we'll just talk about it. But Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy. What's interesting is I forgot she was in this movie, but these two kids later go on to be part of two of the 80s most popular films ever, with Matthew Broderick being in Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Ali Sheedy being the goth girl that eats her cereal on bread in The Breakfast Club. Both directed by John Hughes.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
There you go. Both of them are John Hughes movies. John Hughes movies. But the box office, the budget for this was $12 million, and it grossed $79 million. Did very well, even with what it was up against in that year, which we'll talk about after. And it did win some awards, but let's go ahead and just jump into it. I'll say that I don't have much to say in terms of background on this, so I'll say literally, I remember this was another movie that I just happened to catch on TV, like on the USA channel when I was sick from school one day.
Yeah, I have always heard and known about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I've always known about Would You Like to Play a Game and all that stuff, but I've never actually sat down and watched it until last night. And it's almost a 2-hour movie, and I did not feel like it was a 2-hour movie.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. And I remember this is the first time I've sat down with the whole thing, and I did not remember a lot of it, like, until they get to the cabin, basically. So I don't know if I just missed most of it, or if it was one of those things where I was flipping through channels and all I saw were the military parts, so I didn't care, as a kid anyway. So, because it starts pretty slow, and I would say pretty slow even for, like, not because, it's 2020 and we have ADHD because videos last 30 seconds anymore, but it really starts, like, at first I wasn't sure we were watching the right movie because it's just a foggy wasteland or something, and there's just a car that pulls up to a ranch home, and these two guys walk in and they hold their badges up to a mirror. And then on the other side, you see all the bleepy bloop lights, and it's like, oh, military outpost underground.
Which, by the way, the guy that clearanced them through the door, I've seen him in multiple movies before. He's a dad in a lot of movies.
Okay. There's
trying to find him.
We're gonna run across a lot of, like, oh, that's that person. That's that person. We already had it with one of the stars. But yeah, so it starts just with, like, these two guys basically clocking in for their shift, and it's behind a really thick door. But what it is, it's a changing of the guard for kind of like missile surveillance and launching that requires two people, two launch codes, two keys. And they go through the process because as soon as they get in, there's like, oh, this is we're going to launch a nuke. And they're both staring at the thing, copying down codes, and then they both put their keys in the holes. And one guy refuses to turn his key all the way to launch the missile, and he thinks it's a test the entire time, and he's waiting for them to call it off. But it's a pretty intense opening scene. It is, and I think kids wouldn't really know what it means, but it is intense because to put it into perspective, they could maybe be starting the next World War with just launching this missile. And so, but he's just sitting there, and that we should point out they can't see each other's faces. They're just kind of facing away from each other. But right. It's Air Force. The one guy that doesn't want to turn the key, the other guy, suddenly he has a 6-shooter, and he's pointing it at him, saying like that's not protocol or something like that, because he just will not turn the key. And then he, I don't know my gun terminology, but it's like when the barrel turns just before you're going to fire, like you have to squeeze the trigger a little more to actually fire a bullet. And, right. But it cuts away from that, but you don't hear a bang. You don't hear like one more click or anything like that. So I look over at Rachel when we're watching them, and I'm like, I do not remember this. What? And then it just cuts, and then it's like War Games, and there's just a Jeep driving down a road, a military Jeep. So it leaves it open to like, did he just die? How? And so at that point, I also I have to look up the rating of this film to determine if he's dead or not. You know?
Well, at that point, it gets answered later, but the whole reason for that opening thing is like, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, oh snap! Is this like a thing that like, what is going on? And then later in the movie, they basically are saying like it was all a test. Like even in the tests, they go through tests like so extensively in that like government program that at one point he was like, well, call such and such, see if it's see if this is a joke. And the guy's like, that's not protocol. And he's like, just do it. And they don't get an answer, and they're like, yep, they could probably already be hit and all this other stuff.
Right.
I'm like, oh snap, but. Yeah, then after that scene, it goes into a discussion with it's at NORAD, and it's basically them talking about like we had 22% of our silos not fire their missiles when they were supposed to, and the president is pissed off.
Yeah, we should lead up a little bit because this sets up like how secretive this whole thing is, because it also is a long intro of like, the gun doesn't fire. It cuts to starting credits, and then there's a Jeep going down this road, and then there's helicopters, and then there's other big military looking things, and then eventually they drive down this, the famed long tunnel into wherever they're going, underground. And so they set up this big like, oh, there's flashing lights everywhere, there's soldiers everywhere, this is some big top secret semi-underground thing. It's bad, but I keep thinking of the first Michael Bay Transformers movie for some reason now with this crap.
Well, what's funny is that tunnel that they go through is actually in multiple movies. Like it's in Back to the Future, and it's in a couple other movies. Like it's the same set that they've used on other ones.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. That does make sense. But yeah,
this set was like $1 million to build.
Yes, and when you get into like the big room with all the screens, we'll get more into factoids at the end. But one of the factoids is like screens of that size did not exist, so it's actually projection screens with stuff on them. So that's interesting. But like, so we kind of get an answer sort of quickly to what the reason was once people start talking in that meeting room of like, basically we have soldiers that are not pulling the trigger with these keys, and so we need to talk about having a computer that doesn't pass judgment on something, and it'll just do what it's ordered to.
Yeah. The coldness that a computer is.
Right. Excuse me. Let's see here.
The name of the computer is a little goofy, but WOPR. I like it. WOPR. It's War Operation Plan Response.
Yes.
Is what it stands for.
And they try to give it a face with where the lights are. Did you notice that?
Kinda. A little bit, yeah.
Because it's got two sort of round lights, and then there's just a rectangle in the middle below them that's supposed to be a mouth, but it's not. Like if I could equate it to anything, it's almost when you're looking at music, quite literally, and you want to see like the sound waves of something, but it's not really the wavy things, but it's just blips going up and down.
Right.
So they're talking about. And, you've got the staples in here. You've got the think tank. You've got the general who is probably from Texas, who talks with the southern drawl.
I love him. Yeah. I love them so much.
I will give them props that for 83 that they actually had a lady in this room, like a woman was part of the meeting. I feel like most of the time around now it wasn't like it, which is sad because there's another scene that we'll talk about briefly, which just completely negates that. But with the security guard. So they're like talking like, this is all this. Let's walk down this hallway and look at all these crazy blinking lights, and this is WOPR.
Yeah. I still feel like she's there, but I feel like she's still more of a secretary type. So
Yeah, might be, yeah, one to read back the minutes or whatever, or like she has to report to somebody else,
Well,
something
the
like
whole
that.
thing was the gum. There's a part where he like she's talking to the main guy. Let me find his name. McKittrick. He's the main scientist that's like working with WOPR and trying to get the president to switch from soldiers to an automated computer system.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I think he's going into a meeting and he like hands his gum to her and she just like, which is weird enough, just puts it in her mouth and starts chewing it.
What? I missed that
You
completely.
don't. Yeah, it's a little bit later. Like they're going into. I think it's when we can talk about it a little bit later, but it's when they actually like arrest Matthew Broderick's character and get him to NORAD.
Oh,
and
it's
he's
then,
going
okay.
to like talk. Yeah.
Okay, that'd be why I missed it then. I don't feel as clueless then because I really feel like that would have been something I noticed.
Right.
Yeah. So, but it's basically McKittrick is defending the WOPR. He shit.
That sounds so weird, doesn't it?
He's defending the WOPR. I think I already have our episode title.
He's defending the WOPR.
Yeah. So, but it's just okay. I have the movie playing in the background, but I want to talk about the arcade as we get into it, so I don't want to miss anything. But because this is setting up the whole plot, the whole defense thing, the whole worry about AI. Like he's saying that the computer will be the best choice. It'll be the best option. It'll save us. It does the one guy I didn't write down all their names, but essentially the IT guy standing next to WOPR kind of says like this thing has already fought World War III, stuff like that, because it's got the stats of casualties and everything else going on to factor in everything. Basically it's doing the math of a war to figure out like what's the best case scenario, or like what's the actual damage that would be done, things like that.
Oh, I thought that was okay. So at the very beginning, the two guys we were talking about,
I know exactly. I think I know what you're gonna do, but go ahead.
I was watching. I was like, that really looks like Michael Madsen. And I was like, no, that's not Michael Madsen. And then I just looked it up, and it was Michael Madsen.
The wormy looking guy.
The black haired guy, the one that was like that's not the guy that's like that's not protocol.
Oh, okay, yeah. What is he in? I was like, otherwise?
He's in the Kill Bill movies. He's in Reservoir Dogs. He's in a bunch of Quentin Tarantino movies.
Okay.
You know his face if you I'll send it to you. So.
Probably. But so what they're defending, and Texas General, that's his name now. He says like he's against it because he's the traditional way, and it's very much like I don't want a computer making these decisions. I need my boys to make them. Send our boys home, But he's also the one that calls and talks to the president to say, Mr. President, I need your word. I need your signal to launch this missile, essentially.
Yeah, he's the one that gets everything ready to go and then
Oh,
so
I lost you for a second. He's the one that gets everything ready to go, and then what?
And then just needs the president's approval.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I love him. The actor's name is Barry Corbin, and I love him in this movie.
Most of his lines were improvised from what I was reading.
Yeah, and when I read that, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, it does. And it works for that character because a lot of it is like, are you fucking kidding me? Okay, no, let's do this.
He's the audience.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, he very much is the audience's voice. So I guess they sort of come to a decision there. Well, yeah, they do, because they say like, we don't need our boys both turning keys, so screw that. They're going to be just computers, And they don't really get that confirmation in the meeting, but we see that later. But so anyway,
yeah, because the one guy, I guess it's the president's aide. I don't know what it is, but it's the guy that has to report back to the president with what happened. Yeah. And he's just like, we're going with WOPR. And the general is not happy.
No, he's not, but he realizes that, he's becoming outdated. This machine is going to do almost his job, essentially. And speaking of machines, let's go to the arcade. Cool. Playing some Galaga.
I miss arcades like that, man. I wish I would have grown up during that age.
Yeah,
I was just a little too young. I wasn't even born when this movie came out.
Yes, I was not either. But we see some Sega stuff because there's I think it's Congo Bongo that is just past Galaga and something else in the background. You see a Tron machine back there. But Matthew Broderick's character David is playing Galaga, and he's cool because he's playing an arcade game, and he's our hero, ladies and gentlemen. But the only thing that bothers me about this is I feel like this is not a convincing arcade because there's so much outside light coming in that you wouldn't be able to see most of the games you're playing. But
yeah, that's true. I think it's just like supposed to be like a hangout because there's a food area too, so it's probably just a little like quick cash grab area that the owner's trying to do.
Very much the meetup place in Monster Squad or something, you know.
Yeah.
Just food
well, what's cool
games.
is apparently I don't know if we want to keep. Do we want to just keep do like splicing trivia in when we're talking about the movie?
Yeah.
Actually, I guess the director or the producers of the movie actually sent a Galaga and Galaxian machine to Matthew Broderick's home for like 2 months so he could practice and get good at it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very
I would totally be like, yeah, that's why I need it, and then just never give him back.
Yep. Research.
Yep.
So, but he's like a classic, 80s teen. He's playing a game, and this little kid comes in. He's like, "You're gonna be late for school," or something like that. And to which it's like, "Well, why aren't you in school?" But all right, see ya. Take over my Galaga game.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Truancy was easily done back then.
Yeah. Right. So classic running to school and all that good stuff. Gonna be late. Got to go to. We got to introduce the characters and show how he's a slacker and everything. So he doesn't. Asshole teacher hands him his test as he comes into class with a big old F circled on it, and and Rachel and I were watching she was kind of half paying attention. I told her, I was like, I don't think you really dig this movie. She's like, all right, I'll just be in the room. And but she saw this scene and she's like, what an asshole. I'm like, that's just how it was, honey. Like, that's not like, how else are you gonna? Of course, today, all the snowflakes would be like, Mom, he did this, and then the PTA would be in charge of everything.
Well, this is an era where the parents would automatically like side with the teachers.
Yeah.
But nowadays it's a lot of the parents automatically side with the child and think that they're the victim and all that stuff. So.
Yep. But if it wasn't that way, we wouldn't have all these kid heroes.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Like the movie, I love this. I actually really like the scene. So the asshole teacher is basically not humiliating, but just yeah, you got this big F. That's why you don't know this. And then we actually get Ali Sheed's character Jennifer introduced because her and her friends sit in front of David, and they are just some giggling girls, man. They're just laughing nonstop.
Yep, especially about the word asexual.
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, we were all in high school. Like, I remember when we were first talking about like the sexual reproductive organs, and my teacher said vagina, and I busted out laughing.
Yep.
And I got sent out of the school. I got sent out of the room, and I was like, all right, whatever. Sorry that words are funny.
Yeah, it's but he does have a good joke, or he does have a good comeback where the teacher asks what's so funny, or no, he asked the question, what was it? Who decided on asexual?
Who first coined the term asexual? Like sexual something by like not touching or something like that.
Yeah, and he replies with, "Was it your wife?" And everyone's like, "Whoa!" Bow, 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 bow.
And the laughs were actually not. The laughs were the crew because they didn't know the punchline of the joke. And when Matthew Broderick says your wife, you can actually listen and like, those aren't kids. That's like the crew laughing at the joke, and they just kept it in.
That's pretty great. I did not know that, but that's pretty great. So whatever. So they both have Fs. He gets sent to the principal's office, where this is a key thing where he like basically says hi to the secretary or whatever she is. It's a really weird office setup, but
you gotta have that buzzer. You can't get through that little door without the buzzer.
Yeah, that's also weird. Like, what the fuck? But so he goes to sit for the principal or wait to talk to the principal, and he finds a list of words, and the word pencil is not crossed off yet, which we're like, all right, whatever, that's something. And you don't even see the meeting with the principal. It just cuts to him leaving school.
Yeah, it's not relevant. So.
Yeah. What's her name almost runs him over with the motorcycle moped thing.
Jennifer.
Yeah. So, but then we get introduced after that to the coolest character, Bo the dog.
Oh God, yeah. The movie's going right with us, so
yeah.
I knew as soon as I saw the dog, I was like, Scotty's gonna love this damn dog.
He's a good dog. He's a good boy. He goes through the garbage. He's a plot point almost, but
he kind of is at one point.
yeah.
Well, the whole reason for that scene was just because to get it's setting up for our two main characters to meet and all that stuff. So
yeah,
this is the weirdest part. Like the weirdest part when they get home or get to David's home, and he's just like, "Yeah, come on up to my room. My parents aren't home." And you can kind of feel it even with her. She's like, "Your parents aren't home." He goes, "No, they work," and he's just like, "Come on up," and I'm like, all right, dude. Like in 83.
Just another of I've already got this girl in my room, and we're like, way more would be happening, or attempts at happening.
Yeah, but I guess with this it's not important because that's not in a raunchy like boner comedy. That's what would happen, but that's not what this kind of movie is.
Good old boner comedy, my favorite genre.
Yeah.
But like it's not overblown, but there is the classic like "do not enter" sign on the teenager's door.
And it's locked.
Yeah, but so he's like, "Check out my computer." Throws that giant floppy disk in.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a probably 7-inch floppy, I guess. But
I would say bigger than that, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a large boy, but. And he starts up his computer, and then she's just like, "What's that?" and like picking up random things, and then eventually you see that he's logging in to change his report card grade. And he puts in the word pencil, and he's like, "Yeah, they change it, blurp blurp blurp," and I've got it, and I just changed my grade. It's a C, believable from an F. And he's like, "I'll change your grade." She's like, "Don't do that." And then she leaves because she's pissed. But then he changes it to an A, and I'm like, that's way more noticeable. She's definitely going to get in trouble.
Like, wouldn't the teacher that did the teacher made such a big deal of like pointing them out during class, be like, "Hey, wait a minute, how'd you pass this class?"
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And so, and that's kind of that scene. Now we go back to the missile silo where the guards are getting replaced. Just with new computer pieces, basically. And
we see the result of what happened in the opening scene.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He did not die. He did not get shot. But it's a quick scene. But it's a quick scene. But it's one of the most important scenes in the movie. Because it shows that the computer has now replaced the guys standing by with keys and everything to launch missiles. So
they got to make sure to get those cool chairs out of there. That was the first thing when I saw them. I was like, those chairs are so cool.
Red gaming chairs before gaming chairs.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And then one more like mom trope, I guess, from the 80s, it feels like. We go back to the home where mom is a realtor. Dad, we don't know what dad does, but he works. But
Dad likes butter.
Dad likes butter on his corn. This just blew Rachel's mind when he buttered his bread and then took the bread and wrapped it around the corn to butter it easier than trying to butter just the corn.
Right.
I didn't think that much of it. I guess she had never seen that, but, you know, the 80s. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, Sketch?
Right.
We're talking about butter and corn.
In my defense, I was up at 8:30, but you know, man, that snooze is a bitch.
Oh,
definitely
yeah, it
is. We aren't that far into the movie, so we're just up to like where he's already changed the grades, and we talked about
the buttered toast.
The buttered toast. The key turner has already got replaced by computers. Do you now that you're popping in, do you want to say like how much experience you have with this movie at all? Myself, I just happened to catch it on USA one day.
Sure. Like it actually ended up being a highly influential film for me. Like, I saw the movie. I want to say it was about a year after it came out in 1984 on VHS. Right?
Nice.
Like we went to there was a family we were friends with, and they had two daughters that like I had grown up with a little bit, you know, like, and I could say their first names, Ardith and Tana. So like who cares, right? But you know, I don't want to email. So we went to, I think it was Ardith's birthday. We went there for, and we were watching the movie, right? And it's just like, you know, I'm like, let's see, 5, 6 years old. So like the opening sequence that when it opens up like with the fucking missile, and he's pointing a gun. I don't know what the hell is going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like as a kid, I don't understand why this is intense, but it is.
Yeah, it's super intense, you know. But long story short, like there's that scene right at the end where Broderick and Ali Sheedy, they do the French kiss. Remember, it's the second time they kiss, right? Me and Arnett took a good look at one another. Let me tell you, buddy, when this movie ended, she took me out to her bedroom and had my
oh Lord,
yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Like
so she showed you her computer, and then you guys played chess on there.
Changed each other's grades.
I French kissed at 6 years old, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Because the alley sheet, Matthew, and I'm watching.
So War Games will always be one of Sketch's favorite movies.
It was like going home. I was crying last night. I was like, you know what I mean? Like it's crazy how like, you don't realize sometimes how influential something was. Like, and I was like, yeah, okay, fucking War Games, whatever. But overall, dude, I mean, I think the movie holds up extremely well. Yeah. You know, like I really do.
It was my first time ever. I had always known about the movie, but I never actually sat down and watched it until last night. And I mean, I did not feel like I was sitting there for 2 hours watching a movie. I was enjoying it thoroughly the entire time.
I remember my thoughts at the time, other than Ali Sheedy's. I mean, look, and even now, their acting like little kids is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're clearly not kids. I mean, let's get past that. But it's pretty. I mean, especially her like mannerisms is very. She's not acting like a 28-year-old. You know what I mean? Who's playing a kid. She's acting like a kid. She's not super smart. They're not figuring shit out. You know, and even though Broderick has some quips, they're quips that you could come up with at his age. I think the only time it's like it's kind of like you could see the look on his face is around this scene where I think it's when he comes down and his dad gets the grades. You know, he's like, and I'm just like, it's like you could tell all the actors there are like they're clearly like
not doing their best job.
It is interesting to see him go from this and then, you know, a few years later to Ferris Bueller, right, where he's still using computers and fucking around, but not getting in trouble. It is a little weird. I think the cinematography on this film is the director of photography is amazing. They do so much with so little in this movie. Like, I mean, he's just sitting there at a fucking computer and they're looking at him. You know what I mean? It's just her and him looking at a fucking computer and it works, right?
Yeah, that's what I was even like when I was watching that. I'm saying to myself and to Rachel, I'm just like, this is not an exciting thing they're doing. They're just typing in codes and looking at a map, but they're selling it.
Yeah, they're selling it, and I mean, and it's not. It's like, look, you have to basically know nothing about computers to buy into it, but at the same time, like, it's not like they were trying to get you to understand the tech. You know what I mean? Like they weren't like trying, like, you know, you always could tell like when screenwriters write some computer shit. Like I remember there's that famous episode from Friends where Chandler, they start rattling off fucking stats. It has a CD-ROM capability.
Yeah, right.
Megahertz, and you're just like, come on, what'd you fucking, you know what I mean? Read the Computer Trader or some shit today, dude. Just write that, you know, like
what do you got it for? Games.
And they do drop a few things on here, like. They used the term firewall. I don't think firewall was ever been used in a film.
Interesting.
That was the first. That was one of the trivias. It was the first time a firewall as a computer security network was ever mentioned in a movie.
Yeah, like things like Deep Logic. You know what I mean? Which we're dealing. I mean, it's essentially like it's like a word game now where you plug in a bunch of those text sensitive games where you're talking to computers. But like, so it's just. It does a really good job, and then again the sets, like it takes that War Room set, takes the War Room from like Dr. Strangelove, and then adds like fucking Transformers to it. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what Scotty said.
Yeah. And by the way, when the War Games theme first plays, I always thought that was the Decepticons theme when I was a kid. I was like, nice. You know, and I don't know, and I'm pretty good at names. I don't know any of the fucking names offhand, from the director to the fucking the composer, the editor. Like,
nope.
I'm just like, who are these fucking? Whoever made this, they got to bring this fucking team back. You know what I mean? I mean, are they alive?
Too.
No. Well, that's not.
Well, not the sequel. There was a sequel.
Oh, was there? Ooh, gross.
There was a remake. You know, that was horrific too. So
yeah, there's like 4 movies named War Games. Actually, I was trying to find just
Yeah, I'm surprised this wasn't made into like a shitty USA TV show. You know what I mean? Where it's
up there with Weird Science or something.
You know, they're using like really bad computer graphics and shit. And so, I mean, I do like wonder, like, I mean, if there was more story to it, like, what the fuck was up with Protovision? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what were they never showed.
It was such a big sort of plot point, and then you just kind of forget about it.
Yeah, it's one of those plot points that gets you to the main plot point.
Yeah, true.
Right, but as an Easter egg, it would have been great if it was like the company that from Tron or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It would have been great if they could just, like, if I could do a fan edit, I would just try to like roto out Protovision and put like NCOM. You're like, oh yeah, he's gonna play some games. You know what I mean? Like, So, his mom and dad. There's a lot of character actors in here that were pretty popular at the time. I mean, like, there were people that just showed up in and out of movies. So the mom and dad I've seen before, but they're not, like, you would go, oh, that's not Joe Flattery, who's way young in 1983, but it's like a guy who could be Joe Flattery one day. Like, but you know that face. Like, if you've seen TV, you've seen that dude. The mom I've seen somewhere before. I just can't fucking put my finger on it, you know?
Yeah, I don't know either.
In the military, there's the main colonel. He has a sidekick, this bald dude. That's the dude from Ghostbusters. Like, remember when they go get Slimer? He's like, I'm not going to pay.
That's right. Yeah, for the hotel. That's right. Okay.
Well, we'll just put it right back in. Yeah.
You know what? I probably couldn't think of where I saw him from, because he never got like visually annoyed in this movie like he does in that. So I think if I saw him like heated, then I would think that's it. Ghostbusters. He's the pissed off hotel manager or whatever.
I was telling Scotty too at the very beginning. I'm like, I'm looking at the one of the war guys, one of the guys that are turning the key, and I'm like, that's Michael Madsen. And I sit there for a minute, and then I get a close-up look of it, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's not. And then I looked him up. I'm like, nope, that's Michael Madsen. Never mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this one. The principal from Back to the Future is in it, you know.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. But like, there's in the background, like even in the military room, there's an African American soldier in there.
I can't remember his name either.
I think he was in like a game where he, like, in a movie with the prison with like football or something, like with Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
It was like, it's like that, or a movie like that, where I've seen him in prison where he's this big strong dude.
Longest Yard.
Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? It may not be that movie, but something like that. So like,
yeah, lots of phases, and that's the thing, is like I was trying to go through the credits to start crediting people. Like, you see this guy from that, I'm like, we're just gonna stick with it's got Matthew Broderick and Ali Sheedy in it. There's too many others.
It's got Eddie Deason from Critters 2 in it.
Jeez, yeah. I will, before we get away from Protovision, there was a War Games game for PlayStation 1, and the opening of it is like, you want games, you want violence, you get Protovision. Like this, like, bad, like, monster truck rally announcer kind of commercial.
Hey guys, how about this? What if Protovision was like the company that built Proto? Right, like Mega Man. Right? Like,
don't start with me. Don't
he
start
has
with
80
me.
shades. Proto Man has 80 shades, guys. Like,
That's true. Maybe that was the inspiration for it.
I do have a couple questions, like, up to this point. Like, does his parents not care if he goes to school ever? Like,
yeah.
I mean, when he's like, you've been home all week, he's just like, he's literally. Look, these parents, man, they're like.
It's like the dad from Stranger Things, where he basically shows up to the dinner table and says, "Listen to your mother," but the mother in this isn't even there either.
The dad from Stranger Things. Like,
yeah, he looks.
It can't be unintentional. Like, they didn't model something after the look of them. You know, like, there's something there to that. But they're definitely like older and dumber than his parents in Ferris Bueller. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Like, they're almost grandparents. you know?
Yeah,
Like...
both another tie-in, like both moms are real estate agents, and we just watched Evolver, where the mother was also a real estate agent. Yeah, in that. So I don't know. That's just what mothers do. I don't know.
Well, I was thinking about Evolver. I'm like, you know, man, like it's a damn shame we go from this to Evolver in like fucking 15 years. You know, you know, I can see like when fucking what's his face, what's Ethan Embry gets the role. He's like, it's gonna be like War Games, you know.
I'm gonna make millions.
The games. Yeah, we get the games, and there's a girl in the military. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of parallel, stuff going on.
I'm fairly certain his parents are conservative. Like, I mean, real estate agent, they probably voted for Reagan. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm just like, I'm trying to get like, because she's talking about the economy and, you know.
Yeah, well, that ties in with what this movie actually did for Reagan.
Yeah.
Because some of the trivia for that was, he like actually showed it.
The vibe in the room, like my father, dude, you know, so my father, you know, he passed away. He, you know, he was a man of color who believed if he was, because he served in the Navy, he was a paramedic, you know, law enforcement, he owns a security company. So he was pro fucking government, pro military, pro police, all that stuff. Super. And he was like, yeah, I fucking love them. They're going to love me. I'm like, they don't love you, Dad. You know, like, it was like every time I turn on the news, they're beating up some other brown man. And I'm like, Dad, they don't, you know, and I get you. And I have a total respect for, I'm prior service myself, but like you watch this movie and they were just like, that's right, the government's on top of it. I'm like, the government's getting its shit kicked at by a little kid. Like, it's not on top of it, Dad. This is not. But he would only see this, you know, like anytime they'd lock the door and they'd show the hydraulics, it's like, that's the government, yeah. You know, you're just like, fuck, dude. Wow. And for the longest time, anytime I closed a heavy door, I saw this movie. You know, you close the heavy door.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. The big foot thick, yeah.
I keep thinking things like who else? Okay, so at NORAD, where this supposedly so where did they just shot it at some fucking building, like a set, right? I mean, they built the set, obviously.
Yeah, it was like $1 million set.
Yeah, we were talking about how like the TVs didn't actually exist of that caliber back then. It was all just projector screens with stuff on them.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like they didn't have. I mean, the closest you had was these squares that were stitched together, and then there would be a camera that was either low hanging or high hanging that could project up. And even then the ghosting was like, wasn't this resolution, bro? Like,
right.
I mean, it's so bright in there. I'm like, the fucking resolution is amazing.
Well, the funny thing about the command center is it was actually the producers of the movie weren't allowed to go to the actual NORAD command center, so they just had to imagine what it would look like. And I think they actually like confirmed that the NORAD command center is not as elaborate as the set they created. And I think the director John Badham said that he refers to the movie set as NORAD's wet dream of itself. So
yeah, I like this director. He speaks my fucking language. So like, the thing too I want to say was, so like, this movie set me up from switching from McDonald's to Burger King because they fucking mention Whopper so many fucking times. Like, you gotta understand, I am a little fat kid at heart, dude. Like, I've always I've never been like super heavy, but I've gotten up and down a way. I've gone from 260 to 142, you know, because I sit, I draw, I love food, man. It's in me to love. And anytime they talk about anything in a movie, like, you know, when you're a kid, they used to have that little game, bubblegum in a dish. Don't talk about bubblegum, man, because I'm fucking, like, now I'm done all bubblegum. Dicks. It's an imaginary. There's no bubblegum. Stop talking about it. Like, so like,
you're putting it in my head.
This whole time, I just remember as a little kid, I'm like, I fucking want a Whopper, man. Like, and I was like a Happy Meal kid at the time, but the movie said, I mean, you know.
And you mentioned that it's like this movie is just riddled with sponsorships too. It's like, well, now I want a Tab. Well, now I want a Big Gulp. I want to go to 7-Eleven. Like, it's crazy how much
there's a McDonald's in the background in the 7-Eleven scene.
Well, it made me love 7-Eleven. But the Tab is also a Back to the Future like tie. Remember? So like, there's two Back to the Future ties here. You know, you got Strickland and then you got the fucking, I want a Tab. You want a Tab? You order something.
I always knew what Tab was, but even as a kid, I don't ever remember actually drinking it.
I had one.
It didn't
it was
really
the first
last
0
long.
calorie.
Yeah.
Like it was like a 0 calorie.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like it was a soda marketed towards women, which was kind of weird in itself.
Is it like the '80s LaCroix? Is what it was?
Yeah, but it was like a 0 calorie, or like it used some sweetener that shouldn't be used or some shit. Like it was before.
Chemical.
Yeah, it was basically to like counteract people when they found out that soda's not good for you. So they're like, this is the healthy soda, you know.
Gotcha.
Kind of deal.
I remember liking Mountain Dew a lot better. Like that's let's just put it that way. There was tabs of Mountain Dews, and Rob went right back to the Mountain Dew. You know, so shocking.
Nice.
Right.
Do you think that butter was real butter? Because like it has a weird look. Like I was looking at, I remember looking at stuff like, you know, man, I don't think that's real because it would fucking melt under the lights. Like it's a pretty warm scene.
I don't think it
like,
was
that
butter.
Butter looks fucking don't look like butter to me, man. Like,
well, because he also says that the corn is raw. So how would the butter go on corn that easily if it was raw? That because the way they made it look was that corn looked like it was
almost,
hot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was like some kind of paint. It had to be.
How I remember corn in the 80s is through my parents weren't cooking, so it was KFC, right? So KFC, you get the side, you can get a side of fucking corn on the cob, and we had those same fucking little corn things. So there's these plastic little corn with these two
corn holders.
Yeah, corn holders, and I'd stick them in everything. My mom would get all fucking mad, right? Like you put the shit in potato, I'd put the shit in fucking like a Hostess pie, you know what I mean? Like, I got the pie, and I'm like eating the pie with the fucking, of course, spooging out the side. So I remember, like, you'd get the corn, and I remember it'd be like fucking soggy because they'd butter it or some shit. And I'm like, man, you know, I do remember thinking she had a point about it not being crunchy enough. Like it's kind of soggy.
They're just like, it's raw. Of course, it's gonna be crunchy.
Yeah, I did go through a raw corn phase later in life. It was because this movie is like inadvertently influential for me. You know, like, like I do like me some raw corn. But anytime I see butter now, I just think of Rick and Morty. You know, I serve butter. You know, like oh shit.
Yeah, that's my life.
Yeah,
but
that's weird.
Yeah, Scotty, get us back on the rails a little bit.
Butter.
Hey, wait. Hey, question. We never see his teacher ever again, right?
No, just in the one scene where
not really
it's
anyone.
Really funny.
So it's great. So I guess we're to assume that everyone submits grades. It goes into the system, and the system automatically mails shit out, right?
Yeah. So no one ever sees him again.
But his dad says he has to sign it.
Yeah, I do remember that. Like, and I remember having to do that as well. Get my parents to sign a report card. So it would have to go back to someone that's going to see those again.
And it's a verify in the computer with.
I don't ever remember in high school having to have parents sign off on I remember when I was in elementary because there was one teacher. You had to take it home.
Yeah, I remember if you got bad grades, you had to get it signed.
Maybe that was it. That might have been it. But I remember it was no more than like you'd hand it back in, and then they probably just put them in a file, and that's it. So no one probably ever actually looked at the signatures. They just saw there was a scribble, you know.
Yeah.
Same with field trip passes.
I never saw floppy disks the size of LPs.
Like, that's what I
said.
I think it was a 7-inch. I was like, no.
Yeah.
But I get it's movie logic. You have to see him put the fucking floppy in each time, you know. But like, you know, you're like, you know, he'd just leave that shit in there. Like, come on,
right?
Taking that floppy out, you put it back.
Especially with how often he's like showing that he's a slob. He's cleaning up his room constantly because of girls in there and everything. Yeah, he would not actively take that thing out every time. No.
This guy got the same girl in his room so many times.
Yeah.
With parents home and parents not home.
Right.
Yeah. No moves. Even gave her grades. No moves. I got a question. Was this movie picked because there's a Sega reference in the arcade? Like,
I thought,
like is that it? Like I just sat there, I'm like, did Chris pick this shit because like fucking there's a giant Sega logo? This is how it's gaming related. Like
there, I think Corey added this on the list forever ago. I
added it on just because. I mean, it's they said like it needs to be video game or game related, and I'm like, technically DOS games are games. So
yep. I couldn't tell what Sega game it was in the background in the arcade. I assume it was Congo Bongo.
No, it looked like the Periscope game. There's a submarine game, I think.
Oh, could have been, yeah.
You can kind of see like the center. It kind of goes vertically up. Like there's that center thing.
The sideshow is just excuses for me to try and put movies I want to watch onto the list. Like,
yeah,
this is War Games. This will be like I give the podcast shit because we always watch bad movies, but I really liked War Games. I really liked this one.
It's well done. It's for what could have been just a boring topic of just looking at computer screens. It's well done and makes you care about everything else going on around it. So, but also probably because it's so scary that this could happen. This has almost happened. You know, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
This shit's probably happening right now, guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Put it this way: someone probably made Joshua in Minecraft using those fucking switches.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, there's some asshole in fucking Minecraft who creates some shit. You know what I'm like? I bet you right now, someone at the fucking NORAD's fucking around Minecraft, building a little fucking AI machine.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of where he shows her. Oh, by the time after dinner, they go back to his room again and whatever, and he's like, "This is how this works," and puts the phone on the thing and whatever. And I love the part where she's amazed that the computer is talking back to them. Like that was pretty great. Her like staring at the box and holding it up to her ear and like, "This is amazing, computer."
She was generally like, interested in it and all that.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And he starts trying to find. He's still. We should mention at the dinner table. He looks at that Protovision thing, like we mentioned. So he wants to try to get the games before they come out, essentially, or play them before they're out.
Yeah.
So that's what sparks this whole thing.
That was one of the best like layouts in a magazine I've ever seen.
Very
like
dark.
It just like opens. It like opens up. It looks like it's opening another magazine within a magazine.
Yeah, that's just how some of those ads were.
It looks more like when you want to get a really expensive car and they send you a little portfolio of awesome shit. You know?
Yeah, like a press kit within the magazine. And it's got the family like around the TV, like it's fun for everybody, the future and stuff like that.
Yeah. Future of gaming.
So he's going through what kicks things off is he's trying to find essentially where Protovision is through a phone number, I guess. And he's just having the computer like auto dial all the numbers in the area to find all this crap, and then eventually he finds WOPR, and then they start playing. Oh no, they don't. Not yet. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself because he drives. This part confused me. Where is he like jumping on their bike to go visit?
He goes to their hacker friends.
Oh, is that what it is? Just his buddies that know computers and they actually have jobs in computers?
They're probably his buddies that he met, because we don't see the origin story of David. We don't see like how he got all these computers, but I'm assuming that he had some connection and got interested in it, and they probably hooked him up with some extra parts and all that stuff. So he knows the two guys, and he gets the printout.
The lone gunman. He goes to visit them.
Basically, because you can kind of tell too, the guy that he gives the paperwork to is like kind of like fritzy and all that stuff. So like hackers were portrayed back then as like not always there, or they used to work for the government and they were like, government's crazy, so now I'm gonna go off and do my own thing. Right. And but he takes them the printout of basically like the login of the list of games that WOPR popped up, and the guy's just like, Matthew Broderick's like, how do I get in this? I want to play, like I want to figure out. And I want to play these games. And he's like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess, like, I usually do a backdoor, like, password in my systems that only I know, so that even if they update the, the software and all that stuff, I'll be able to get back in. So that's how he kind of, like, starts the whole, like, I got to find what the backdoor password is. And he starts learning about Stephen Falcon, who was the creator of this program, I guess.
Okay, wait, hold on. So when he goes to these two dudes, now the one guy, there's a big dude that's like Sam and Twitch. Yeah. There's a big dude and a nerdy guy. The nerdy dude, he recently had heart issues. He's in the hospital. I forget his name. But he was in a lot. Yeah, so he's in a lot of fucking awesome movies. He was in one of my all-time favorites called Midnight Madness.
I feel like I should know that.
It was one of these like Disney, like they run like like a Mad World kind of thing, but it was like with kids, like younger kids.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Michael J.
And
Fox
they run around. Yeah, they run around at night. I think Crispin Glover too might be in it, but Michael J. Fox is in it, and
I just remember him from Critters 2.
I just know his voice from as Mandark in Dexter's Lab.
Oh yeah.
Ta-da!
Forgot about that.
Yeah, but his buddy's been in a few other films too. I've seen him, and like I just want a whole fucking film with these fucking guys. Like,
yeah,
like I could just watch this dude, and then like at the end, like they just want to murder. You know, like you imagine like the guy. Literally, you could think the bigger dude is gonna just murder this dude at some point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But it's
because there's the whole thing where he's like, you remember how you told me to tell you if you were being rude? You're doing it right now.
Yeah, it's like, what did we talk about? You know?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. So yeah, they are essentially trying to warn him, like, don't mess with this shit. He's like, but I want to mess with it. And they're like, all right, we'll get you in. Yeah. And then cut to, I've got to examine microfilm. So that's when you know the research is intense, when anybody goes to a library to look at microfilm and card catalogs and things like that.
A bunch of things our listeners won't understand what they are if
maybe
they're
not
at a certain age.
Yeah, maybe not.
Look, what they don't show you is him jumping around to the comic section, just blowing up the panels of Garfield are really big, like I used to.
Yeah.
Like, I can make a Jay Garfield. Like, fucking stop looking at the comics, Rob. You know,
you got a paper due in 2 days.
Yeah. Read the fucking old bits, you know.
It's pretty good. And he's like going through all this research and crap and looking at his computer without a shirt on and all that fun stuff. I love the part where I don't actually know her character's name. Oh, Jennifer, where she touches the computer monitor because she really just does not understand computers. I thought that was pretty good. This is where we get to, like, she's doing her exercises and going for a run and stops at his house and comes up to his room again. And he's got, like, papers everywhere. And she's like, you haven't been in school for a week. And we're like, oh, did a week just pass? It looked like he could have done that research in a weekend. What's going on here? But that's like you said, Rob. Like, his parents just don't care that he didn't go to school for a whole week.
And his dad is home.
Right.
Like, they're home. His dad doesn't work. I guess his mom's working. His dad's just loafing. And the kids, they're all fucking, like, or was he, was he taking off pretending to go to school but going to the other places? You know, like that.
Maybe that, because like even she didn't really ask his dad how he is, but he didn't seem concerned about him at all.
No, he's just like, oh yeah, he's up in his room.
Yeah. And then he, like, shows her all this stuff. It's, you know, sort of equivalent almost to Charlie and Always Sunny looking at the board full of yarn and, like, different things and stuff like that. Like, this is Dr. Faulkner or Falcon,
yeah.
Yeah, and he just has all this research. Mm-hmm.
Who, as a kid, I thought was fucking Dustin Hoffman. I was like, Dustin Hoffman's British. Like, Dustin Hoffman. Like, I was like, is that Tootsie? I don't know Tootsie. I'm like, no, it's not, but it kind of. It's almost like they wanted like a Dustin Hoffman, but they got, you know, and John Hurt or whatever, and we got this dude.
I feel like John Wood did a good job though as Falcon.
Yeah,
no, he's not bad. Yeah. You buy into this guy's smart. You know, I mean, you know. Mm-hmm. And I will get into it later, but I'm just thinking about this moment. So, first thing, like, Ali Shee's got a little bit of a Phoebe run, right? Like,
yeah,
like she's like jogging, and I'm like, that's not a normal jog. Like, she's just like, you know,
she's like extending a little too hard in that jog.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a little like, I'm like, I don't know if I buy into the jogging. Like, their dog's always outside, Bo. Like, I'm like, who keeps letting the fucking
favorite
dog
character.
out?
Bo's the best.
He gets into the trash. Like, really, the secret story here is Bo's little adventure.
Bo is the plot. He's the linchpin.
I like to think that this Transformers Decepticon. And by the way, anytime the Decepticons stole Energon, I heard the theme to fucking War Games, like, from here on out. Like, so you guys know, you know. Right. And I keep thinking, anytime Bo gets out into the trash, this is his theme song. It's a War Game. This is actually.
They just cut to him. It's just like, oh man, that'd be.
Bo's the sleeper agent for the Decepticons or something.
And he's not much into Tab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
More like a new Coke dog. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
or Mountain Dew.
Yeah, well, everyone's a Mountain Dew. Everybody, you do the do. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Boy.
David eventually like figures out, like, he's looking at some old footage of Falcon, like, presenting like some of his findings and stuff like that, and and Jennifer's reading some of the history from Falcon, and she finds out, oh, did you see that his son and his wife died in a car accident, and his health deteriorated and all that, and then it clicks. David's like, what was his son's name? And then we find out his son's name was Joshua, and boom, that was the password that got him in.
Classic.
So So as a kid, I was like, so the kid's stuck in the computer? You know what I mean? Like, I was trying to find, like, he put the kid into the kid died. He put his brain in the computer.
Right.
Like,
They could have gone that dark. Yeah. His son is the computer, and his son lives past him, and all. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Important thing, like Falcon is dead supposedly. And fucking Matthew Broderick's character. She's Jennifer says like he died at 41, and Matthew Broderick or David's like, yeah, pretty old. I'm like, that's not pretty old. What an asshole.
I'm 41, and I'm looking at Falcon like he looks like he's 58.
Yeah,
you know
he definitely doesn't look. Yeah, unless the job just 61, really aged him or something.
60, right. Falcon was a drinker. You know what I mean? Like he had to be. Like.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not. Yeah, he doesn't look 41, but whatever. But yeah, they like you said, Corey. He opens it up and it goes through a list of all these games they can play, like backgammon, chess, whatever, and that was the thing. Like Falcon essentially taught a computer how to play games and learn from his mistakes to play better and to always win, find the winning strategy and all that good stuff.
I feel like had the writers of this film, the screenwriter, whatever, been a little bit more into conspiracy theory, you would have got Operation Project Paperclip, and you would have got the Nazi scientists, and then maybe like, you know, we brought over a dude from Russia because of the chess thing, you know, like I felt like they would have Easter egged a bit more the conspiracy stuff into the development of the AI system, especially with all that black and white footage of Falcon with like wire strapped to chess sets and shit, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I could have seen them going that way for sure. I think the only reason they didn't is they just kind of wanted to push it along, you know.
Well, I get that the movie moves along. I'm just thinking like they shot all that shit, so I'm like, man, they had to shoot. When you think about it, you had to film chess sets hooked up to with what cameras, and then they're playing it on tape or something, like, you know, like, so it's interesting. All that shit is, you know, like someone had to film that. Piece
has like a cable attached to it and all that stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Intricate wires. They
the
break
kid
out.
grabbed the wires and he got in the computer, right? Like I was waiting. Like as a kid, you know, you're waiting for the real fantastic shit to happen.
Yeah, the computer wore tennis shoes, like that old classic Disney film.
Right.
But no, they start. He's like, "What game should we play?" And of course, he picks the one with the biggest title: Global Thermonuclear. I forget the last word. War. Just war. Yep. And that's when we get the line that everybody remembers, even if you've never seen this movie. Shall we play a game? You know.
Yep.
I mean, it's in Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
It is.
And he has to pick a side. David's character is going to play as the Soviet Union, so the computer, Joshua, has to play as the U.S., and now this is where the girl's interested, and he's like, what should we nuke first? And she's like, Las Vegas. Oh, but before that, they reserve fake airline tickets to Paris is a plot point, sort of.
Which makes sense later down in the movie. I thought it was just going to be like a throwaway thing that they did.
Same.
So like I'm thinking about, okay, if I was a wise ass teenager in 1983 and I wanted to nuke a state, I don't think Vegas they probably would have been like, you know, like nuke Texas or like somewhere, like, I don't know. I don't remember Vegas being
like the butt
high on the.
It would have almost been more appropriate if they were like Jersey, you know, just for another no reason to slam Jersey thing.
Yeah, Jersey. There you go. Like, they probably would have nuked Jersey or Florida or something. Like,
but I definitely agree that Vegas doesn't really have relevance to anything that's even happened in this movie for them to want to do that first. It was kind of weird.
I think we're all like, who would we have nuked?
Sorry, Chris.
It's like, hey, we got flooding. You know, like, hey, you got the flood. You know, you got my bad.
Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. This is, and right after that's the report card scene where we mentioned like it was kind of overacted, but then the dad's watching TV, and this was after he had started playing the game with Joshua and pretended to launch missiles, but it wasn't a real thing in the war room. But it sends them into a panic, and then it shows up on TV like that there was this missile launch threat, but it wasn't a real thing, but it was like a launch detection. So now
would that make news?
I don't
wouldn't that
think
be classified?
Hell no.
No.
Yeah, would put the world in a panic.
Yep.
Look, first off, you got to understand. So here's another little tidbit. So my uncle was in the Air Force, and he worked at these nuclear silo stations.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a bit of a, I say this, like it runs in the family. Well, okay, he's a bit of an asshole. So
was this the same one you mentioned that like never worked a day in his life or something after that?
Yeah, same guy.
Okay.
There you go. You keep a track, right? And by the way, he ended up working at Burger King one day. Got real fat, dude. So like, look, I told you, strangely influential film for me.
Yeah.
So he got in trouble once because what happened was they'd have these sensors out in fields where the silos would open,
Yeah.
and rabbits would fucking set them off.
Oh, fun.
And like, it was one of those things where he would complain about it, and everyone's like, yeah, the fucking rabbit set him off. It's part of the fucking deal, just fucking deal with it. And so he thought it would be, I don't know, for whatever reason, fun to write Reagan a fucking letter about it. No, it was a Carter.
Boy.
He wrote Carter a fucking letter about it, and got himself fucking a huge amount of fucking trouble.
Yeah.
Bypassed
everybody.
And it maybe late, like in the 90s, I could tell you around, before 9/11, like we didn't, they kind of didn't care about that shit. But in the early 80s, they still gave a fucking flying whatever, So, yeah, man, like rabbits always set off these fucking missile silo fucking things. So like nobody reported on that. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't on the local news with a picture of an A-bomb going off. Like
that's awesome.
Like it's got the nuclear explosion. Boom!
The mushroom cloud.
Yeah, the perfect. That's just what you want in the news. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. It would have been funny if he dropped his corn.
Yeah, that would have been a great ongoing plot. The dad's continually eating this corn that they have to get rid of now or whatever.
They bought too much.
Yeah.
That little bits everywhere.
Yeah, no, it was only on the TV just to advance the plot, of course, because David, he's just getting his report card signed, and he sees that on the news, so he goes back upstairs and he's like, "I got to throw away the paper. They're gonna find me. They're gonna do,
Yeah.
And then Jennifer calls and he's like, I can't talk, but stuff's going on. Me and Bo are hightailing it,
We're skipping town.
Yeah. So, which is like, for me, I would think like, oh, they're not, he's just being paranoid and they're just trying to set this into motion. But then the next scene where he's at the 7-Eleven getting his big gulp, that exact thing happens. Like, there's a dude.
Van pulls up.
Yeah, there's a dude fake reading the paper, and like a car pulls up and a dude gets out and walks next to the car as it's still driving, and and then a van stops him, and you can see he's getting abducted essentially, but
basically.
Yeah, and so they snag him and cuff him.
Let me tell you something. This now you got to understand the context too. So at the time, like we had the Adam Walsh case, kids being abducted by his father is the guy who started that America's Most Wanted show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. That's why we have a Code Adam.
Yeah, right, Code Adam. Yeah. Adam Walsh. And my mom she made me watch all that shit. She's like, you fucking stay, you leave me, you get your head cut off and thrown in the field. I'm like, I'm not talking to nobody. So like, anytime I walked out of 7-Eleven from here on out, man, as a kid, I was like, fucking. You know what I mean? Like, what have I been up to? Who's, cop cars coming to get me.
Yeah.
Now, how was he in there playing video games? Because his cup's half fucking full. Like, you ever notice that? Like, his
that is that was
been,
in like the goof or the factoids or whatever that he walks out and it's already mostly drank. It was weird.
But here's how it can happen. They used to keep arcade cabinets at 7-Eleven. They'd have one or two.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a little back room. So my guess is he bought the drink and was drinking that in there and playing arcade games and walked out. I would almost willing to bet there was a scene of it, but they just trimmed for time.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, probably.
And did you guys notice the McDonald's in the background that looks like a cabin?
Yeah, that's what McDonald's used to look like.
Used to look like it had the wood roof and everything,
yeah. Funny thing about that is that 7-Eleven and State Farm Bureau is still there, and so is that McDonald's.
Right. As of 2019, I saw that as well. So
yeah,
that's interesting. I'm sure that's a fun touristy spot. But yeah, it gets taken away, and then we cut. I was a little bit confused with this next scene because they go back to NORAD and there's like a tour going on, which I just thought was weird that they're just letting people walk sort of freely and like tour this major military compound. But I don't know. Is that not weird?
Well, it was supposed to be senators that were being brought through. Senators and Congress, like people, because they're paying for all
governors.
Yeah. To show them like this is where your money's going and stuff, I guess.
Well, not mayors, but
I get why congressional people would be involved because of budgets, right? And senators because they're the ones funding budgets. But it eventually turns into like just like local kids,
whatever.
Yeah, but it's just like a weird field trip or something. It almost reminded me of like the Josie and the Pussycats movie where they bring everyone in to show them the headquarters of this fake music industry and crap. But yeah, but no, this is this is when the tour and everything, and this is where we see the principal of Back to the Future. But they're talking about like, holy shit, we went to DEFCON 3. What is going on? Let's figure this out.
So there is a jump scare here that works. I'm like, this fucking dick. It's this.
That was horrible. Yeah.
He gets this poor, and it's a woman of color, dude. This poor little like fucking like, Native American woman or something, and he gets her to you use the system and just hit that button, and she goes to hit the button. Yeah, just push that button. You push it. Oh shit, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like it's like, you fucking dick, dude. Like,
why would you do that? Yeah. That's horrible.
He's like, we got you.
We got you. Anyway, the government's fun, right? Let's go over here. It's like fucking
paying for these jokes. Get it?
So they're all like, what's going on? Why did this happen? Why did WOPR do this or do that? And nothing's really, all they learn is like this kid did it and he's a spy is what they're starting to. And meanwhile, Mr. Texas General is like, just like I told you guys about it.
He definitely, I forget that actor's name. He's in a bunch of fucking flicks.
Yeah, but Corey mentioned him.
He's basically the younger version of Hank Hill's dad.
Yeah.
Like, if you just scale back.
He's still got his
Hank
legs.
Hill's dad. Yeah, he's still got his legs. And he's got dark hair. This is it. He's got the same face, the whole thing.
Yes. His name's Barry Corbin in real life, and in the movie, his name's General Behringer.
Yeah, he's a good character actor. He appears in a lot of.
Yeah, Scotty brought up too that most of his lines were ad libbed.
100%.
Yeah, I like it when he goes. I mean, there's one he'll get to later, but he goes, "Your system sucks." Just like,
oh yeah,
you just like, it's funny.
Got him. Good job.
Got him.
Yeah, but he's like sniffing a cigar and stuff, but
everyone's smoking around this fucking high-tech equipment, dude.
Everyone. That's the 80s. Everybody smokes.
No. Hold on. This is one of the things, though. Like, I can't tell you. My dad, so he did security for a bunch of these, like, microchip companies and out in San Diego. And he didn't have, like, fucking babysitters, so he'd just take me and my brother with him. So I would walk around rooms and offices very similar to this, where there's like diagrams and fucking flowcharts written out on whiteboards, and there's computer rooms, and those things were sealed off, like with air. There was like they had to wear the fucking full suits because you can't have any contaminants. And I'm like, these fuckers are just smoking everywhere, just like willy nilly, dude. Like it is funny, man. They're just the room's got a fucking. And so also, Dabney Coleman, like him in that. There's an assistant of his, like a secretary or an assistant.
Yeah,
they're in a relationship, right? Because she eats his fucking gum.
Corey mentioned that, and I guess I missed that or something, or I don't know.
I was like, what? I guess sure.
That's because they're a couple.
They're an item.
No woman's eating your gum, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even as a kid, I remember looking like, we're not gonna share. I mean, me and my little girl companion, we weren't sharing gum. You know, that's a step. It's a bridge too far. I have a
wife and I wouldn't do that. Like, that's gross.
If I saw my wife spit out gum, I'd be like, that's disgusting. You know what I mean? Put that shit in the fucking trash.
Yeah, jeez. Okay, yeah, I just watched that gum scene. I don't know how I missed that before. I must have looked down for a second. But what are we doing? Talking about stuff.
They're in the room talking.
Yeah, they're talking shop, and they're like, this kid's definitely a spy, and what was his name? McKittrick or something?
I keep thinking Kittrick from fucking Mission Impossible.
Yeah, it's not
no,
nice.
It's McKittrick, yeah.
McKittrick, okay. But he's General Texas is sniffing his cigar saying, beef up, screwed up, more like it.
Yeah, he's loving it.
Yeah, he's loving every second of this. But so Kittrick has to go down, yeah?
You just keep thinking, like, if Spider-Man had been made in 1985, Dabney Coleman would have been an excellent J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah,
right? I would have had John Cusack as Peter Parker and Dabney Coleman as fucking J. Jonah Jameson. Like, he's
definitely
perfect.
I could see that. Yeah,
he goes from asshole to fucking lovable. Like, and he's like Gene Hackman in that way. He can really like just flip it.
Yeah. He's like suddenly a guidance counselor. Yeah,
right.
Where he's trying to talk to David and get info out of him. He's just being held in like a doctor's patient's room or something. I don't know.
The infirmary, yeah.
Yeah, is that what it is? I guess, yeah.
Yeah, they're in the infirmary.
But he's trying to be like buddy. I was waiting for him to just pull up a chair and turn it around and sit backwards on it or something. The way he's trying to like coerce him into who you working with and everything. But no, he gives him a tour of the room and he's like, we're at DEFCON 1 or at DEFCON 4. DEFCON 1 equals World War 3. And David's trying to tell him like, Joshua called me. I didn't do any of this. Your stupid computer called me. And this is where the Paris thing comes back because he's like, who are you going to Paris with? It's like, I know nobody. It's like, all right, we're not getting the lawyers into this. We're going to answer some questions. And then he leaves for some reason. I don't remember if he was like called in.
I think he gives them a progress report on what's going on, I think.
But David's just chilling in his office now and sweating it out. But like he's talking to them in the war room and all this crap and like saying it's not, I don't know, whatever. So we cut back and David does the dumbest thing in the world and tries to talk to Joshua again on the computer.
Yeah. The secretary's like, what you doing back there?
I like how every computer's logged into their AI algorithm. Like,
apparently.
Yeah. Like, let me tell you, man, like, this is the one thing where I'm like, I get it. It's just the movie has to be convenient because it has to move along.
Right.
I understand all that. So, but like, even when I was in the Army, I mean, when they had a room that was sealed off from everyone that they'd have to go in, and when they get very specific, like special orders, right? Like orders for people of rank, and like I won't say World War III level orders, but the orders that could lead to the orders that could lead to that orders, right? Like when you get in those kinds of orders, they don't come in a fucking email. Like they have a secure fucking, they have a secure walled off. Like so, I'm like. That's the one thing where I'm like, I'm not with the one thing, but you're like, I guess, like they got no choice. He's just gotta. I like how the secretary sees him and she doesn't say shit. She just like races out the room. I gotta go tell them, like, hey, you, boom, 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 fucking, you sit down,
Yeah, because I think the reason he even goes to the computer is it was switched to DEFCON 3 now, so he's like, shit, let me see what's going on.
Yeah, now we have threat level orange or some shit, right? Like they got rid of the DEFCONs and after 9/11 went to like colors. But so I keep thinking
threat level, the cover of the album "Moving Pictures" by Rush.
Right. So this is heavy dude. There's a heavy dude who's in charge of the WOPR, the nerdy guy. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great if that dude was related to the other nerdy dude from fucking what's his name? The fucking
Eddie Deason?
I never forget that actor. Yeah, Eddie Deason, right? Like those two, because he looks like you could easily put a movie where the heavy guy in charge of the WOPR is related to Deason, but they're also related to the sister from fucking Back to the Future. She was in Movie Violations. She was in Bosom Buddies. Like
the sister. Oh, the sister.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, his sister, Joe. I forget her name, dude. Yeah, but like they could all be in a nerd family. Like I could see this, like they're all like sitting around a table, with their fucking Radio Shack Tandy like fucking computers, like
yeah.
They're very similar character types. But I think they do a good job too of not over nerding the people who know computer shit. Like they're not all.
Yeah, they're not the hackers and like the hoodies and stuff like that. Or have like
there's a lot of tape drives
or whatever. There's a lot
of tape drive. There's a lot of like tape drives in this place to be like the computer's always like hooked in. I don't know. So
yeah,
I can keep asking him, like, would it be great if you could just die from distance? Like, would he try to play Oregon Trail or something? Like,
yeah, something like that. Because there's no internet, but yeah, it is somehow always hooked up and on. Or there's no internet that we know it anyway. So who knows?
I mean, there was DARPANet at the time,
right?
They had, but this predates. Was it Geo Windows or something like that? There was a GUI interface similar to Windows prior to Windows that the military used. G Windows or so, it was something like that. But yeah, I mean, there was DARPANet. I mean, they could do emails, but I don't think it was like. I mean, why have that giant fucking computer who later gets a phase, which is hilarious?
Yes, we did.
Why have that?
Yeah.
Why have that giant computer if you could just plug into any Apple II?
I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Plot. That's why. Plot.
Moving along. Plot.
Yeah, exactly. And but yeah. So what he also does to try when he's stuck just before the secretary or after the secretary like runs off, he's trying to get. He kind of figures out that maybe Falcon's not dead, and he tries to find an address of where Falcon might be, and he gets some information on there, but then he gets pulled and thrown back into the infirmary, where this felt kind of out of place, but I guess it makes sense for the sense of progression, how he like opens the drawer and gets the tweezers and the tape recorder, and I'm like,
no. Beyond that, man, we're watching sexual assault, like, or listening.
Oh yeah, that's
to
about
it.
to come up. Yeah,
like, but during this whole scene, you can hear him going, "Man, you know you want it. You know what I mean? You want
the guards with the secretary.
It's bad. He's like, so I hear you're a tennis champ or something like that, and it goes.
And she's kind of into it in the beginning, and then like at one point you see she's like, "Hey, back off," and he's just like not backing off. And you're like, "Oh man, no, don't do this."
No, this is bad. Like he's trying to unbutton her shirt, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, she would not still be sitting there. But whatever movie.
There's a dose of reality.
Yeah. So I don't even fucking whatever. But
and
yeah,
I also feel like we're at a tax credit moment where he plays the tape recorder and it goes, "Eyes were dilated, use of marijuana, PCP." I'm like, so what? Fucking about that 50-cent doobie it was laced. Like, I don't know what are we talking about?
Yeah, what are we? Why?
Yeah, and then like. So what dude in NORAD's doing PCP and I don't fucking know. You know, like it's just, when you hear that, I'm like, it's fucking Nancy Reagan shit. You know, like I mean, it's prior to Nancy Reagan, but this is just like, I do think though, like it is kind of like it is a war on drugs moment. You know, like in the middle of the film, like ooh scary PCP.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very tossed aside, but you know they make sure you hear it at least. It's loud enough. It's discernible. But he does this little nerd thing and hacks the keypad after the guard. He tells the guard he's got to pee to get the guard to walk up and type the code in. So he records the dial tone and plugs it in with some tweezers and stuff, and like somehow hacks the door. And since he's too busy sexually harassing the nurse, he sneaks away into a maintenance shaft. I definitely don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember a lot of this movie, so I was just like
before Die Hard.
Yeah,
before Die Hard.
Yeah, this predates Die Hard. Yeah. And then the principal and, you know, I guess those are the FBI agents are coming down to see him. And the guard can't unlock the door, so he's but then we get Die Hard Matthew Broderick here crawling through the vents that are very well lit.
Yeah, that's one thing I was like, man, I have a light bulb go off in my bathroom. How do these light bulbs stay like not going out all the time?
Yeah, these like in crazy large things, but and so he somehow gets into the main room again through the ventilation shaft and whatever. Right. And you know he sees the tour that's happening, so he sneaks away with the tour essentially. Tight security, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So he breaks free. So Mr. David, our nerd hero, just sneaks away with the tour and hops on the bus, which on the back of the bus, I hate social media, but it said USAF. So out loud, I just go United States as fuck. And so dumb. But that's where my mind went thanks to social media garbage. But
yep.
So we see the clock of like how much time is left for Joshua to essentially
that's always the looming threat.
Yeah, the looming threat is game time remaining, like 23 hours or something before he's going to launch defensive maneuvers. I got confused here. Suddenly, David is on. He's hitchhiking with the semi truck.
Right.
Did I miss something? He was on a bus, but then he was
on a bus, but the bus
only
probably only went far. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was trying to hitchhike to Oregon, but he's just not going to make it in time. So
because they're in Colorado right now.
Yeah, he's in Colorado. So he's like, fuck this. I'm going to make a phone call. And... Now, a lot of this stuff, this tone stuff, this was done. I knew guys who could do this shit.
Yeah, this stuff was possible. He was hacking the phone and whatever to.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That was pretty cool. I didn't know that was possible.
Yeah. I knew there was one or two computer dudes who were a little older, would always hang around with other computer kids. They weren't molesting you, but you know what I mean? It's questionable now.
Passing on their knowledge.
Yeah. There was always these few dudes. You're like, no, there was never, but yeah, they always did hang out with little kids. But that's the best fucking I got. But like this actually could be done. I saw some dudes do this kind of shit,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's cool.
That's why they sealed those phones. Well, they made them molded so you couldn't unseal them, after the film, like eventually. But
yeah, so you can't just unscrew them like he does. Yeah. But he does that, and he calls, tries to make a collect call out to Jennifer, who's doing some stretching. Like there's
She's
nothing.
Fitness.
Yeah, something I wanted to bring up real quick, just something I noticed. Like they do a good job of like the what the kids are wearing is kind of timely. It doesn't look like they're in the 80s, except for when she's doing her exercises. Otherwise, the clothing style anyway could kind of be any era except for that. But he's
going to be on. But she says later she's going to be on TV. So
yes,
like some local channel doing jazzercise. So.
Something like that, yeah. Which it doesn't. Whatever. We need to hear that for some reason. But so he like tells her he can't talk, but to come and get me, and there's a Pepsi in the background, one more logo, one more sponsor, and he's like Goose City, try whatever. He's trying to find. That's right. At first, he was trying to find out where Falcon actually is, like get an address for a phone number or something. And he doesn't. That's not super successful, but it kind of is. I don't know.
Well, it makes him go to the point where he's like, well, I can't call him on the phone, so I have to go and find him.
That's right. I've got to go and get the professor to stop this war. And he ends up in an airport. And then Jennifer's in the airport. He's like, I can't believe you showed up. And she's like, it's only a 3-hour drive. I'm like, fucking what?
On your little moped motorcycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, was she on the Magneto? Because she leaves her car behind, right?
Does she?
I guess.
Maybe she took a bus. Maybe she went 3 hour by a bus. Or
maybe something. Because and he's like telling her what they need to do.
Where did she get the money? Like, whose money did she spend?
Yeah, these kids just have fun somehow.
Mm-hmm. Because those tickets aren't cheap. Back in the day, like
$1,200. It was about $600 for a ticket.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird. So they have to hop on a ferry because he's like, of course, this guy lives on an island or something, and they, he's trying to explain the whole ordeal to her as they're going to the ferry, and he's like,
so the summer before last, my buddy, I met him and his wife through one of my Kickstarters. So we've become friends, and they got married. And they're out there in Seattle, but they had their wedding on this island, so we had to take a ferry. I'm like, fucking war games, right? Like, getting on the ferry, like, I had to, and we were running late, I had to get on. And I'm like, I don't want to jump, I want to jump, I want to jump the fucking. So just get on the boat.
You had to run down to it as fast as they did.
Get on the fucking boat, like, all right, get on the boat.
Weird, yeah. So they get to the island, and they were just in an airport, so we were seeing stuff flying around, but then you see something else flying. I'm like, was that a fucking pterodactyl? That's a pterodactyl. What's going on? What movie are we in now?
This is goofy as hell right now when I saw the pterodactyl.
Yeah, I
thought there were real dinosaurs. I'm like, can you bring back the dinosaurs?
Yeah.
The dinosaurs going to fight the
Yeah, Falcon's like some mad scientist after all. Yeah, they're like, that's why.
Kid, you're trying to like, okay, so the dinosaurs he's gonna fight the computers, or we're gonna, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, they're gonna send the dinosaurs against the American government or something. Fucking, boy. And it's supposedly a remote controlled pterodactyl, even though you never see its like wings move or anything. I don't know.
It's just glides.
No, it's just a glider. So like they have these, man. Like I met a bunch of guys back in the day that would get together with little clubs and they'd build like replica fucking planes and F-16s and F-14s, but they were I was at not paper mache, but they would build frames over basic little airplane kits, you know. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's pretty any crafter at the time who was into RC stuff would have been able to pull that one off. So.
Yeah, that's what Falcon does now. He flies pterodactyl.
And by the way, when later on, a few years later, when Pee-wee's Playhouse came out, he had that little pterodactyl, and I'd be like, "Yes, fucking War Games, dude!" You know, like
War Games was everything from Rob.
This is the first time I ever saw a pterodactyl in a film, guys. Like, you got to think about it. Like,
breaking ground.
So, yeah. It was a movie of firsts for me.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they find Falcon, and he's like, piss off, basically, go back on the ferry, you're gonna miss it. And David's like, I came because of Joshua, and you know that gets his attention.
Of course.
Zip back to the war room. They're DEFCON 2 now. Very bad. They've got some fighters actually in the air, and they can't find the other supposedly Russian planes that are going to attack or whatever. The general is watching the digitized map and telling them that they're there, but then they disappear. So, you know, it's getting weird. Go back to the cabin now, and he's like, let me tell you a bedtime story, and plays some clips from like it doesn't really make sense. He just plays some clips from a dinosaur movie. I forget.
It looks like Jason and the Argonauts level of animation. So.
Right, yeah. Like claymation.
There's a scene where a T-Rex is drowning. I'm like, fucking poor T-Rex can't swim. It's got tiny arms.
Weird, yeah.
Tiny arms, man.
But like this gets them talking about games and whatever, and they bring up tic-tac-toe.
Well, yeah, because Joshua was playing it in the old movies.
Right, yeah. And he's like, he says, what does he say exactly? Like, you know.
Well, he's like, you remember you used to play tic-tac-toe all the time, right? And Jennifer's like, yeah. And he goes, what made you stop? She goes, well, it just got boring because you couldn't win. He goes, exactly. It's just like war.
Yeah. But it's like, and when he's talking about this, I'm like, you can win at tic-tac-toe. It doesn't always end in a tie, but
yeah, you just got to play an idiot. I had a few idiots, you know? I mean, and I didn't need center square to win, but I mean, it helps, you know? But I mean, like, you know, it's a great analogy. It works. You know, simpler the better. You know, like in all things being equal, like this is a master class, and you know, you got multiple ticking clocks in this, from the the countdown to later the codes. You know, the cinematography, placing stuff over people's faces. It's shot extremely well. Almost like I haven't looked, but I'd be willing. I mean, I'd be willing to put at least $1 down that the DP on this was the DP on Poltergeist, because there's a lot of similar, like with the flashing,
right.
There's a lot of that. Could have just been at the time the way light was used, and you know, it's just popular. But the film stocks on this film, it's incredibly warm film that goes into cools pretty. I mean, there's a lot of low light shooting. Like if you know anything about lenses, and I'm like, that's a 35 millimeter lens, and then a little wide angle there. Like there's a lot of it's like a good soup where you're like, yeah, it's fucking soup. Like, or you ever have a really good pho or like a bone broth? Yeah. You're like, but that's a complex 10-hour fucking bone broth. It's deceptively simple. So yeah. And the tic-tac-toe like analogy is cool, because who would have thought flashing tic-tac-toe later on in the movie on a wall would fucking be scary? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it was a little like when it gets faster and faster and faster.
Yeah, had it been Hangman, well, that would have been scary, but for a whole nother, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking about games at the time. Like, we played Hangman, which is incredibly racist now.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Tic-tac-toe, what else did we play? We made mazes. That didn't go so well.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Chess, checkers, I like all that stuff, I guess. But tic-tac-toe is the one that you could just play anywhere and any time.
Yeah, you could throw it down. Sometimes you'd, like, try to make it bigger. Like, we'll just extend it out. You know?
Yeah, it's like 6 of these put together.
Yeah. Then it's like we're essentially playing fucking Minesweeper. Fucking shitty fucking game.
I wonder if they didn't use that because like that was probably like Microsoft's thing or whatever, you know?
No, this is pre. This is pre Geo Windows or whatever. I fucking forget the name.
You'll remember it as soon as we stop recording, probably.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
As soon as we stop recording, I'm going to forget I ever had this conversation because like I thought about.
I haven't seen that forever,
dude. Man, I was like, I cried. I was this fucking movie in my childhood. Like I was shockingly nostalgic for this film.
Yeah, so that's cool though. So let's see. They're talking about tic-tac-toe. Oh, and he's like also. This was like really dark because, they're basically saying like, so you're happy being dead. You're far away from whatever. And he's like, well, you know, I picked this place to live because if the bombs do drop, we're 3 miles outside of a major city, so we'll get to watch the explosion and it'll be beautiful, and then we'll be gone quickly. I'm just like, what the fuck?
We won't have to suffer through the burden of surviving.
Yeah. I was just like, holy shit, this guy. I don't know, like.
I mean, I can kind of see where he's coming from because he's just like he's lost so much in his life and he's just done with everything. But David's like, I mean, even Jennifer says at one point, she goes, "I'm 17. I don't want to die."
Not ready to go.
They have realistic kid reactions to this, like teenager reactions. And I can tell you when I was in the Army, they give you the nuclear bullshit talk. You know, okay, look, if you do, you got to lay on the ground, put your chest. I'm standing up, guys. Like I know what I mean?
It's not gonna that's not gonna help me.
I'm doing the fucking the rock. You know what I mean with the 2 flares. Like,
oh yeah.
Like I'm not surviving that. I'm standing right the fuck up. Good luck. You know, like I'm not.
I'll have fun. Like what's gonna happen? Be like, oh, you look up, you're like, oh, if Rob's knees are the only knees down are the only thing that's left. Like. If he only would have laid on the ground.
They used to do these nuclear tests out in the middle of the ocean, right? Like after World War II, around in the 50s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. And there was this one time, the first time they did it, they got all the dudes, it was a naval documentary I was watching, and they got all the fucking guys and put them on. They had everyone on the ship come to the deck, and they sat there and they said, you know, when we tell you, you know, don't look. You got to put your head down on your fucking knees. And they ignited a fucking bomb, dude. And these guys were like, they're still talking to them today. And a lot of them got cancer and shit. And they were just like, I could see the bones. Even with my eyes closed, I could see the bones in my hands and legs. And
that's not good.
The heat. Yeah, everyone was scared. The guys were crying. You know what I mean? Like,
Jesus, man.
Yeah, it was horrific because, I mean, like you didn't ever see anyone. And then when when they were able to finally look, the entire sky is on fire. Like poor fucking dudes, man. Like the nuclear war is fucking horrific. I mean, I did work in nuclear biological chemical the last year of my time in. I was a tanker, but I got switched over. And the more you learn about fallout and just basic radiation or chemical attacks, you're like, this fucking shit sucks. You know what I mean? Anyone who fucking thinks this shit's fun, you know what I mean? Just has no fucking clue what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, so
that's where the reality of that movie comes in, too.
Yeah, this is a really good job of, like, not satirizing the threat of that, you know, and it doesn't go like a Verhoeven level. Because you easily see this movie that made by Paul Verhoeven, you know. Know, all the military guys would have been wearing cowboy hats too. Like they're one step away. They're one. We'll get to it later, but there's one voice. So I'm like, oh, it's the typical nerd voice. I got it down. But you're almost expecting Slim Pickens from fucking Dr. Strangelove to show up at some point, but they don't do it. You know, they get close, but they don't go quite there. So his Falcon's response though. That is a legitimate, like, look, if I could live anywhere, I got a pension from the government, and I know the reality of fucking nuclear war in the 80s and what could probably happen, yeah, I'd want to live somewhere that's nice, but where I'm going to get vaporized and not have to deal with fucking this shit. You know what I mean? Like, or even the pain of just seeing everyone suffer. So that's why games like Fallout, man, like I could get it has its people love it. But for me, I'm like, That shit's too close to home, man. I don't fucking want to live in a post-apocalyptic movie.
Yeah. Give me Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, that's the radiation I want to see. So
yeah, the closest to a destructive environment I want to live in, maybe Star Wars, and that would be fucking dangerous. You get killed in 3 seconds in Star Wars. Like,
you wouldn't even know you were dead because you're just like, your world blew up.
Yeah, I mean, vaporized. So yeah, his response is, and Ali Sheedy, you know, like this, she brings a lot of heart to the film. You know, like she's super fucking innocent. You know, which is crazy because like 3 years later, she's trying to save an intelligent robot from the military, right? So, right. Like, who's Johnny? He said, and as a kid, I was like, so she grew up, and that's Joshua, right? Like I thought everything was connected. Like when I was a kid, man, like you
thought War Games was a documentary, not a movie.
Well, we all thought this shit was real, bro. Like we thought fucking Red Dawn was real. You know, they're all gonna go in the roof, they're gonna kill it. You know, like so. It wasn't until Iron Eagle 2 I was like, we got to work together with the Russians for peace. You know, so it took a while, man. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
I know, guys. I'll take you back. I'll lead you there. It's not. Yeah. It sucks, but
well, we get more like he goes. Basically, David and Jennifer are like, well, screw this. Like he's not going to help us. Then, I mean, what the hell can we do? And that's when we get our official kiss of the two.
Well, I like before then that he's like, you want to sleep on the floor? I'm like, you live in a fucking giant cabin. Surely you have a spare room for them.
Yeah, he's got a guest.
I've seen some cabins living in the South, and that's a really nice fucking cabin.
Yeah, that thing's big.
Yeah, it's bigger than Doc Brown's mansion when he goes back to 1955.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, props to the producers for not making Ali Sheedy get nude right here, because I could easily see, you know what I mean? When they take off the fucking bikinis, we jump in, oh my god, it's cold water. You know,
yeah. They're like, let's get out of here. We don't have a boat. We don't have anything. She's like, let's swim for it. And she starts to take off a shoe, and he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like when she started doing that, I was like, don't do that movie. Don't do that to me. This movie doesn't need any nudity in it.
And then Jason appears from the lake because it's Crystal Lake, right? Like,
no one can have sex. Yeah.
I thought everything was tied in when I was a kid. Like
this helicopter scene's a little goofy though.
This is weird because he's like, they found us. I don't know how, but they found us. It doesn't make sense that I don't know. But he's like,
he came and picked up Falcon first, who has a chopper on command, apparently.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Well, that's the whole joke too. He's like, "What kind of guy lives on an island and doesn't have a boat?"
Mm-hmm.
And like, well, I have a helicopter. So
this is where Falcon should have been flying his own helicopter, but he's got a military guy flying it. So
yeah, so I guess like maybe he's like called him and it was like, "Hey, let's do it. We got to go." And he's like, "Dude, I just had dinner, but all right, sure."
My guess is Falcon made the call when they were making dinner because they had food when they were first talking, so he made them dinner. My guess is. There easily could have been trim footage, guys, where you see that stuff. But then when you're like, the movie's 2 hours, we got to cut out 15 minutes. They cut it all out and it still works. So you're like, this is one of those things where you're like, you know, in a TV show, you can show all that shit and you won't care that that it was 4 hours long, the whole story, or 6 hours. But here, clever editing and it's a little bit of a oh, we're being chased, but nope, it's him, get in, so.
Right, there's that moment of intensity one more time, but it's not really.
Did anyone yell "get to the chopper" at this point?
I did not, surprisingly.
I did it. No. I did it. Get to the chopper.
No, it'd be Falcon. He's like, "Well, we have to get to this chopper pretty quickly, or this helicopter pretty quickly."
Yeah.
Oh, were they in First Circuit? They call them Heelys, and they're not called choppers now. They're called Heelys, sir. You're like, Heelys.
Whatever. Whirly birds.
Indirect. Well, the long whatever. The actual goal, they need to get to the WOPR.
Oh God!
I guarantee you there was like somebody had McDonald's or Taco Bell. Somebody had collector cups for War Games because I could have swore I remembered seeing. They used to have these glass cups where they would paint on.
Let's see.
They would paint on like Star Trek at them, like cups. I keep thinking there was War Game cups when I was a kid. Like someone fucking had. Maybe it was at 7-Eleven or some shit like that.
It would make sense if 7-Eleven had it. Yeah.
Burger King would have been great if it was get to the WOPR. Like that would have been amazing.
It could have worked for Predator, and it could have worked for War Games.
So many different things. Yeah.
This is 4 years before the Predator, so
that's true. So
there's a bunch of shirts with like tic-tac-toe and shall we play a game on it. I was trying to see if there was.
You're never gonna see the vintage shit when you type it. You're just gonna see whatever point. 80s tees put up.
Yeah, Redbubble and crap.
So what we got is them. They're rushing back to the They're rushing back to the to the base because they're like, we got to tell them, like, David's not crazy. He found Falcon. He's bringing him in. But at the meantime, Joshua's already like started launching or quote unquote launching the nukes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And even the general's like, is this one of your damn simulations? Because it better be.
Right, yeah, because they don't have the dudes sitting to wait to turn the keys now. It's going to be all computer stuff.
It's going to happen.
So they're at DEFCON 1 now. Shit's happening.
Apparently, so they're in that Jeep, and they bust through, like the military guy just busts through the gate, and then they crash the Jeep, and it falls over. That was a blooper. That shouldn't have happened.
Oh.
That was actually an accident, and they were just like, let's keep it in.
Because also the camera doesn't the Jeep rolls on its side, but then the Jeep's perfectly fine as they're running away from it, like it's turned back over and stuff.
Yeah. So that was a shot that was not supposed to happen, but it ended up happening, and they just kept it in the movie.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, they're like running, and there's this sense of urgency, but then as soon as they get in there, what was his name? McKittrick is like, what's going on, John? And Falcon's like, I see your wife still picks out your ties. Like, they're just like, dude, we are about to have World War III. Shut the fuck up and figure this out. But he's just, yeah.
I was just gonna say, Falcon is just like, he knows that it's serious, but he's still like,
he doesn't give a shit.
Kind of keeping it lighthearted a little bit.
So McKittrick has a wife. So is he having an affair with his secretary who chooses them?
Oh,
hey, maybe.
See what I'm saying, guys? Like,
maybe it's not an affair. Maybe she's just obsessed with him and was like, I need this gum in my mouth now.
Okay, so let's say you go to work and your wife sees another woman take your gum and put it in her mouth. Like, what you going home that night?
I'm gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. So
like, no doubt about it.
Yeah. But the general, he's like, I got to talk to the president now. What the hell's going on? And Falcon's like, tell him to ride out the attack and whatever. But everybody's like watching the screens, and there's lights going off, and it's like, it's DEFCON 1. So yeah, we're waiting. So he's essentially telling them, like, don't do anything, because if you attack for real, in an act of defense against Russia, then you're actually going to be the first ones attacking, is what's going on right here. So they're just kind of sitting there waiting to watch things blow up, essentially. So, and there's the countdown.
They had the 3 bases on the phone just in case, like, if they lose communication, they're going to launch the nukes and all that.
Right. So it's intense right now, but as the audience, we're like, well, this is gonna be fine, so we're just waiting to watch them not launch anything, right? Like, isn't this good?
We get our first ending fake out, because I was like, oh, the movie's gonna end. And you're like, nope.
Yeah. Because Falcon's like, General Texas is like, we got 2,400 inbound Soviet warheads, and
it'd be great if his last name was Texas.
It may as well be.
General Texas. I like that. That's the name that should be used. I also want to know too, when I went and saw that movie Bumblebee, was it last summer or the summer?
The Transformers spinoff, yeah.
They tried hard to make the set happen again, like in that film, but it was like the budget version of the set. Like, it was like a third of the size. You're just like, yeah, they're trying to get the War Games feeling here. I could see it. They didn't want to spend them, because this is a giant fucking set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is a massive set.
Right. Yeah. But so missiles launch, explosions happen supposedly on the digital screens, but then General's like trying to talk to them, and they reply. So everybody's like, all right, nobody's dead. We did it. We didn't have to launch anything. Everybody's happy and hallelujah. And then
Josh was like, nope.
Yeah, Josh was like, well, the game's not over. I gotta launch some shit. And there's a lock on the codes, and they realize, like, Falcon walks up to the computers, the big screens, And he's like, what's going on? Why is he still trying to figure out this code or whatever? And it is Joshua trying to get the launch codes to just fuck shit up anyway.
He's manually trying to find a launch code so he can do that, and he's succeeding so far from what we're seeing. Like he has to get 10 digits, and he's getting one at a time.
Yeah. And David points out that it thinks that he's just waiting to play games, and he's just waiting to finish the game. And the IT guy, the heavyset guy that was defending WOPR essentially, is like trying to, he can't figure out the launch codes, we can't get in and whatever, and so WOPR's trying, Joshua WOPR is trying to figure out the codes, and nobody knows what they can do, and
they can't log in because he erased all their passwords and all that stuff, so
yeah, all this good stuff. And I didn't really understand this. For some reason, McKittrick is trying to talk to the general just through a headset, but then instead he puts the headset down and walks 20 feet to tell him in person what's going on.
Yeah, sure. Bro, we live in an age now where you could be right next to your wife and you'll text her. So let's not, you know what I mean? Let's not shit on that idea.
Yeah.
You know,
it was for dramatic tension, I guess.
But this is also where the general says, like, your machine's a piece of crap, or no, it sucks, or whatever he says.
Machine sucks.
I can tell you why, though. Like, they would think that, because if you really think about, you ever work in a large room with open fucking ceilings like that? I used to work in a small art department, and the fucking owners thought it'd be a really good idea to not give anyone raises or bonuses a year, but instead they bought a new building and moved us in that. That'll treat us. We all want to work in a new building, and they put the art department in a giant open room, vaulted ceiling, fucking like thing, and it was fucking. This one girl broke down crying because the bounced fucking audio in that room. You could hear a conversation from 200 feet away, but you couldn't hear the person next to you.
Right.
Okay.
So you would have to talk we would all just type into, Messenger, Yahoo or whatever Messenger. You would type conversations to people right next to you because you could not, you were hearing the bounce noise from across the way. So I could see that as being a reason,
Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. I've been in rooms like that too. Yeah. But yeah, he says your machine sucks, and McKittrick's like, you pompous piece of shit, or something like that. I was like, oh boy, what's happening?
Right, here we go.
And so David says to bring up all the games, and they go through to try to play a game with them. And I skipped a quote though, because the general does say, "God damn it, I'd piss on a spark plug if you think it'd do any good." I hope that was improv.
I would have think that it would have been improv.
I really hope so.
And that's how Johnny 5 was made.
Ta-da!
Who's Johnny?
Birthed from piss and hope. Oh yeah, they're going through the games and chess, poker, and then this actually pissed me off that finally David's like, global thermonuclear war. I'm like, no shit, pick that one. Why wasn't that your first one? But no, they figure out
going.
Yeah, but no. David's like, oh, it's not on the list. Put in tic-tac-toe, motherfuckers. So they do that, and
WOPR goes nuts.
Yeah, well, because win. He's like, how do we make it play against itself? And Falcon's like, put number of players to 0. So then WOPR starts playing tic-tac-toe against himself.
Hold on. Hold on. He typed the word 0.
Yeah, he didn't even put in the number 0.
Should have been his. Yeah. That's the one.
Sense.
I'm like, it would have been a number. No way you're typing 0.
Yeah. Binary doesn't read words. So.
Actually, hold on. No, you guys keep going, but they zoom in on that. I was wondering if that keyboard even had. It had to have had numbers on it.
It had a numerical top.
Oh yeah, this was before.
Okay. It had the top row.
Okay,
that at least.
It was like a Commodore 64 style, like one of those really thick, chunky computers. But
yeah,
it's what it had.
That's how I like my computers, thick and chunky.
So, but like we mentioned, tic-tac-toe doesn't always end in a tie. He would have figured out how to win, but that's okay. We don't want World War III.
Well, the thing is, if you're playing, if you have a supercomputer system like this that both sides are playing to win, in a game of tic-tac-toe, then yeah, it would always be a stalemate because they would always pick the perfect move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they would, because like Rob said earlier, the reason you play tic-tac-toe is because either one, you play with someone that's doesn't know how the game works, or they slip up in a game and you're like, oh, I got you because you didn't see that I had one over here. But a computer system would always see that. And if they're dumb enough to lose a tic-tac-toe, then they're dumb enough to lose their lunch money, so you can go get a Jello pudding pop. This is how Rob experienced Jello pudding pops for the first time.
A lot of firsts.
1985.
Because of War Games.
Look, it was many firsts. You know.
Mm-hmm. So that's what happens is Josh WOPR just keeps going crazy from losing against himself, and the lights all blink and go nuts, and computer falls silent and all this stuff. And then he finally says, "Greens, Professor Falcon." I forget.
It's basically like, the game is. He's like, this game. The best outcome is if you don't play this game.
Right. He says, "Strange game."
Strange game. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, which makes me wonder if the original title for this movie was Strange Game. I could
like War Games better.
I'm saying when they write them out, like, they always try to tie it back because they never say the phrase War Games. It's like a marketing or a producer sitting down going, "We're not calling the shit Strange Games," you know. But but they tend to always tie it to a phrase in the film, and I could easily see it starting with Strange Games or Strange Game or whatever, and then it turned into War Games because it's
Yeah, that's what it is. It's war and it's a game, so
yeah.
Right, yeah.
And it sounds,
one of the original titles for it was The Genius, which doesn't. It's a little too generic.
The name of it should have been Joshua WOPR.
Well, let me tell you about generic names like that. You put that shit down so you can move on, because I literally got 120 pages of script right here. Fuck the name. Like, I don't, doesn't matter what you put down, fucking marketing department's going to change that shit the second you turn that in anyway, so.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. Yeah, but yeah.
I like when they win, and then if you look, people are throwing up papers in celebration. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Like, who's picking that shit up? Like,
those papers are important.
I don't even like to toss around packing peanuts anymore because I'm like, I'm not clean. You ever get some shit in the mail with packing peanuts? Like, these fucking assholes. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't have ordered it if I'd known it was going to be shit like this.
Every time I have to, so every now and then I order like an artist edition book. There's these like 11 by 17 or 12 by 18 books that reproduce comics with all their imperfections at the original size they were drawn. So I got the first 2 volumes of Spawn, The Dark Knight Returns, Max, Bone, Hellboy. But when they show up, they always show up in the packing peanuts. And I literally put on like my spy music, and like it's like anytime you gotta cut the wires, so cut the orange wire, the white wire, the yellow wire. I don't fucking I have to like be very, very careful with fucking packing peanuts, man. It's a fucking nightmare.
And God, don't step on one, because then they'll explode and then they're everywhere.
Oh, Doctor Who. Clever.
Sure.
Bubble wrap. Yeah, I saw that episode. Yeah, that was actually the last season of Doctor Who. It was bubble wrap that will kill you.
Oh, wow.
Pop it.
Lord.
Yeah. I know, right? But... No budget too small for Doctor Who.
Oh, man. Scotty, you there? Well, that's War Game. No.
I had to pee.
There it is. Okay.
Yep.
You didn't you walked away, right? We didn't go on that journey with you.
I did walk away.
I don't
There's
think
always some asshole now.
Long enough.
There's always some asshole at the urinal who's like on his fucking phone. I'm like, what are you doing? So anytime I see that, I go, oh yeah,
Yep.
Oh god, that hits the fucking spot. I'm writing my name. Like just to get him the fuck off the phone.
Yeah.
Nice. That was War Games.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like,
so after this movie ends, that's when me and the girl we give the look.
Yeah.
She took me back to her room and we tried that open mouth kissing thing.
And you were just the worst at it. I would bet money.
It's probably had to be pretty good for a 6-year-old, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's crazy. I told my wife, she's like, "You were how young?" I'm like, "I was a ladies' man. I was into the ladies."
I was a ladies' boy.
Yeah, I saw the nerd shit, and I like, look, this movie, you can be a nerd and still get the girl. Like, it can work, you know?
Mm-hmm. Very much so, yeah. Took her back and showed her your 7-inch floppy.
It's 6,
so, like,
damn. All right.
So do you think, because the movie ends here, do you think he goes back to school and is still writing down passwords and cheating? Because he was a senior. Well, he was a senior, right?
I guess he was.
17 would probably be around senior age.
This is one of the. I will say this is one of the rare movies where the kids are supposed to be playing high schoolers actually do look like they're in high school still.
They do, except for a few moments where you could tell, like I said, you could tell Matthew Broderick's like, or where Matthew Broderick is just like he's kidding it up, like at the end where McKittrick scruffys his hair, then he scruffys McKittrick's hair. It's like that's like okay. I'm not really a kid, you know what I mean? But I'm a kid, you know, like it's funny.
This is a movie that I would have liked to see some kind of post credits, like after what happens when I go back. Like the government's not going to let him keep his computer stuff, right? Like.
He's like, yeah, you're definitely never using computers ever again.
Yeah, you better like start playing football or something because computers are no longer in the cards.
Right.
He stuck working with Eddie Deason for the summer, and then he killed him.
Yeah. This is all like top secret, right? Like you can't like, all right, now we got to go out back and take care of everything. Like what's like.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they enrolled him into a military cyber hacking academy, like in the.
There you go. Yeah,
sure.
Right,
yeah.
like an Iron Eagle, you just go to the trial, and then they put you in the fucking Air Force, and you get to fly F-16. So.
And then he's the guy he's the hacker that works for the government and hackers. So there you go.
Good. Yeah, that all makes.
I just thought there was a missed opportunity in the '90s to put Matthew Broderick in Sneakers.
Sneakers, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been really great. You didn't have to use his name, but it would have been great to have Matthew Broderick in that film.
Yeah. Could play a totally different character, just had the actor.
Yeah.
I think so.
But yeah, this game, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I kind of want to watch it again with my wife, so.
It was all right. I thought some parts were boring. I didn't, I don't know. I can see why it was so influential for sure. But I was not as thoroughly entertained as I remembered being as a child watching this. So I don't know. But yeah, it was all right.
So we got different spectrums. So Scotty thinks it's all right. I was like, oh, this is really good. And then Rob's just like, this is my life.
Yeah, I'm going on Facebook, finding old friends, looking up pictures of my dad, you know.
Yeah,
I know, right? Yeah, and then I oversleep and miss the front of the podcast. That's exactly what happened. I'm way too late digging up the past after this fucking movie. You know,
I think that's perfect then.
Speaking of Facebook, though, we did get some replies on there when we told people that we were watching this. James D said, love this film, bought it on every format, VHS, Laserdisc, now Blu-ray. Robert John S. says, do you want to play some Sonic? Yeah. Stuart R. says, thermonuclear global warfare or global thermonuclear, whatever. Either way, it's a whopper.
Yep, that's right.
Jerry P says, can't say I remember much of the movie. Haven't seen it since I was a kid. What I have always wondered, though, why the reflection shows a dude and a kid smiling when the world's about to end and it's clearly a woman looking over her shoulder. Someone replies like, that dude's her face or something like that. So the cover, I think he means like the cover seems a little bit darker than they mean for it to be, maybe. Because he's just happily watching the world end, essentially. One last comment, Sarah Z said, love this movie, love the movie. So yeah, a lot of praise. Not as passionate replies as the Turtles movie that we watched last time, but still a lot of love for the movie, so that's cool.
And I always want to give a big shout out to the actress who keeps reading off 50 Seconds to Impact, because that fucking woman scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, 30 seconds to impact.
Yeah, she had a great voice. I'm like, that's a fucking fantastic voice, man. Like, see, anytime I want my phone to like Waze when I get near somewhere, 50 feet to impact. Like, fucking, I'm almost there. Like,
we gotta get there.
I'm gonna flip the Jeep and I'm gonna run. I like how the computer has to explode. They had to add something in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It couldn't just be like, phew. It had to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's exploding and shit. It's the best.
It's pretty good. This movie, though, did pretty well considering what it was up against the year that it came out. Because Return of the Jedi released this year. Scarface. Let's see. I'm just going to name some movies that came out the same year, and it was a crazy year for movies. Risky Business, Big Chill, A Christmas Story, The Outsiders. Yeah, Christine. Yeah, one of the Lampoon Vacation movies. Flashdance, Cujo, Sleepaway
was the heyday. This was the heyday of Stephen King movies too.
Oh yeah. Crawl was out this year.
Oh, God,
yeah. There's a lot of stuff. So it's a good year for movies.
Yeah, if you're ever on the fence about War Games, you haven't ever actually seen it, or if you haven't watched it in a while, I'd recommend watching it again.
It's a good film. Like Corey mentioned in the beginning, it didn't feel like 2 hours had gone by when you were watching it. So it's a good one. And we mentioned this film because we, in the upcoming issue 9 of Megavisions, we're reviewing the game War Groove that's on the Switch. So if you like Advance Wars and things like that.
The seriousness of video games in this movie to when in the War Groove, you know what I mean? They just could not see how dumb it would all get, you know?
Yeah. Well, it was based, I mean, there was a video game based on this very loosely on the PS1, but that was only on the PS1. Did you guys happen to ever try that? Ever play that game?
I've seen the cover, but I've never played the game.
The only thing that it has to do, like the only way it's related to this movie in the slightest is at the title screen it says, "Shall we play a game?" And you have to essentially fight against time with the DEF CON counter going down to 1 gradually.
Gotcha.
It's a good game though. It's a good co-op game actually.
Okay.
But I always dug it, and it does have a fun like Protovision commercial in the beginning though, like, you want to play games and blow shit up and like do this crazy stuff. It was weird. It had more Protovision involved in the video game than the actual movie did.
Well, I'm certain that game got made because of games like the Blade Runner PC game, or it was a pretty big success. So it was like, hey, what other 80s thing that's kind of cyber that we could make a game out of, and it didn't work out. So
right,
yeah, because when did that come out? 98.
I'm just surprised there isn't like a 80s or pixel like Ludum Dare 24-hour kind of faster than light style, like global thermonuclear war style hacking, somewhere you got to hack into NORAD and then, you know, type in the thing, and like there's some like loop logic here with the using the phones and typing and playing mini games to figure out passwords to get in. That could be one of those kind of quirky indie kind of like pixel titles. I could see that, you know.
Yeah, it is weird that there's not really something like that. I don't know. I'm sure there's even a tabletop of this or something, but it's cool. But yeah, so that was War Games. I don't know. Do you guys have any other final thoughts on it at all, or how? I mean, it was very influential as well.
Yeah, I kind of said my thought on it. I like it. I'll be picking up a copy of it because I don't have it on Blu-ray thing, so I'll look for a copy.
You got to get the combo pack of this and Hackers.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I have Hackers on Blu-ray. I have it on DVD. So
I don't know if it's a Blu-ray bundle combo or not. But
speaking of PlayStation,
yeah. So we all say check it out. I think that's going to just about do it for the sideshow, though. Thank you guys for telling us what you think of this movie on the social medias. Just always keep an eye out for those, for what we're going to be watching next, so you can watch along, play along, whatever. Otherwise, though, if we want to do any plugs, we can. Corey, did you want to tell everyone how you love the song Pizza Power now, or anything like that?
Yeah, no, get it out of my face.
It's in my head now.
Yeah, it's been in my head all week because of Mr. Scotty over here.
Nice.
No, so if you guys want to check out more podcasts that I do, and sometimes we have Scotty on there too, you can go check out Scrubverse Podcast. It's over. You can check it out on iTunes, Spotify, basically anywhere you listen to your podcasts. You can check us out there. We just recorded our episode last night. Last week's episode, we had Scotty on, and we talked a lot of like music, and we basically, that one's a little bit more like we could say whatever we want on that podcast. So yeah, you want to go check that
Thanks.
out. Scrubbers. Well, you've seen some of the clips and some of the titles we have for our podcast. So
you could just say we cover a more broad spectrum.
There you go. There we go. But yeah, you can go check that out. Scrubverse podcast. Go type it into wherever you listen to podcasts,
and you'll get porn.
Not always.
Yeah. But Pizza Power, speaking of, Rob, anything you want to Sketchcraft, Mr. Sketchcraft over there, anything you want to tell us about?
Fucking tired of the turtles, man. Like, I mean, I didn't know when I was doing this. So people are like, "Oh, great way to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Turtles film." I'm like, "Yeah, that's, whoa. You know what I mean?" Like,
sure.
It's guys. So like, I recorded this. I'm working on this. I just finished this piece of art that's going into issue 9 for Megavisions, and it's gonna be a fold-out poster in the magazine too, and this giant turtles fucking like tribute thing. And I don't get too into the weeds. We're at the end of the sideshow, so I figure it's good shop talk because who really gets this far in the podcast? But Chris will. He'll be like, "You talk down the podcast." Look, I look at my podcast. I do 2-hour-long podcasts. They tend to never get this far. So for those that did, just understand, making shit's hard. When you're in it for 100 hours, you fucking hate life. But you are. I'm proud to have done it. I never fucking want to do that ever again. You know what I mean? Like
Gotcha.
So it'll probably be, if I ever fucking do anything like this again, it'll be at least another year because it's 100 fucking hours.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, if it's any consolation, it looks dope as hell, and I'm excited to get a copy of it.
I appreciate it. But yeah, so like this would be everything in here you're seeing on the Turtles piece is just 4 years after War Games. You know, it was as influential to me as War Games. Like, so
War Games commission incoming. So
there should have been a War Games game on the Game Boy, though. I felt that was a missed opportunity with the green screen.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they could have. It could have just been a text-based adventure, or something.
Would it be great if it was like a chibi Matthew Broderick and you had to like dodge military guys?
Yeah, platformer that makes no sense.
And
yeah,
it's like the little Mickey game on Game Boy Advance.
You need to get to a phone to call Ali Sheedy to get like help to recover password, or you know what I mean? Like Falcon.
You got to collect money to get an airplane ticket.
You got a walkie-talkie and you're talking to Falcon and shit, you know? And you got, I could see them like totally fucking like. What was that company that did a little shitty? Was it LGN? Was it LJN?
Oh, LJN was one, or Tiger Electronics.
Yeah, LJN.
Whoever did like those Home Alone games and shit.
Yeah,
I could see it.
Yep.
I could see that.
So there we go.
Back to the magazine.
Oh, yeah. Issue 9 is going to be great. Lots of good stuff in that one. Definitely our strongest issue to date. Yeah, so that's
so this is why Rob quit. You're like, yeah, that's it. You know, like you get your money's worth because that ended it. You know,
we got that good Marvel vs. Capcom spread, which is good for the 20th anniversary this year. So
anniversaries everywhere, all working out.
That's right.
So, but thank you so much
to go
everyone
get a Whopper,
for tuning
guys.
in. Yeah, it's we're all gonna get Whoppers, a wound of Whoppers and big.
Who
goals.
here is gonna go get a Burger King Whopper, but then also crunch up some Milk Dud Whoppers and like?
Those are I hate.
Yeah, those are fucking horrible, right?
I hate them.
This might have been a first for you, but that's not going to be a first for any of us. No,
I don't like
mix them together. It's the double Whopper combo. Like, come on, like
you'll be dropping some Whoppers after that. That's for sure.
It's a whale of a tail of a tail. She said it's a whale of a tail.
Oh boy! But we're out of here, everybody. Thanks so much.
Kirk Douglas. All right,
we're leaving. We're done. The podcast is over.
We're leaving. Sketch. Bye.
Goodbye. Good night. We're up, over, and gone. See you.
See ya. Have a good day.
Whoa. Have a good day.
The podcast is going to come out. What? You can't have a good day?
That just felt like you were on the phone and we just hung up on everyone or something.
Have a good day.